there, welcome back to my channel. Courtis is back with Blue Lips. We have been getting so many Courtis songs lately. I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I swimming in the pool. Thought we were going out for dinner. Maybe find tipple.
Very different from Red, Red, Green, Green. I love the organ feel. And the voice is obviously in a filter. Ooh. I don't know how they did that with Lose It, but it was cool. Ooh, you hear that little rhyme in the organ in the background? Interesting. Ooh, yeah. So interesting.
Talking to the moon, drips fell elusive, but what else do we got? This is what we choose, the bitter and sweet of it both intertwined. Shot through the room, that
interesting.
Racing life's clock, wanna change views. I need something else and a new vibe. Blue flame getting put out. These days getting too tough. In a trap trying to sneak out. Choosing the flex you can't hide.
Every day fighting for peace signs. Roll with the whale like a seaside.
Chasing magic, brought my feet tired. Get to the end and then rewind.
Ooh. Ooh. Good. Okay, first things first, I have to talk about the use of silence here at the end. I think that's such a smart thing to do, is to kind of let you sit within the silence, because this was such an interesting song. You know, something that we've talked about a lot in this channel with Courtis is the way that they, you know, compose their music and produce their music is so interesting, and I love hearing them talk about it. So I'm always curious of like why they compose something, or why they how they come up with things. And so I watch a lot of their interviews and watch a lot of things of them talking about that. And something that I've noticed, you know, obviously we have a color theme going on here. You know, we had red, red, green, green, and we have blue lips. Now, I'm sure there's probably going to be more, you know, but I really like that they have themes within what is happening in their albums. But something that I noticed here is when you have like this kind of pause and this silence, it really makes you sit there and not only reflect on what you just heard, but then you can use silence as almost like a way to hear what's around you and kind of feel if that's music. You know, something that's very important in contemporary music, like 20th century music, is this fact of, is it noise or is it music? Like, can something be considered a piece if it's just silent? Or can, you know, are you supposed to be hearing anything? And I want to say it's there's a piece for the piano, which I want to say is oh, what is it? It's a number, but it's like 443 or something like that. Yeah, 433 by John Cage, I believe is the correct one that I'm thinking of. And what it is you come in, okay, and this is what you're supposed to do. So you come in when someone's coming in, you clap, right? Then the pianist like bows, they sit down, and then literally brings up their hands to the piano and doesn't play a single note for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And during that time, this is like a new age, like something that's completely different. Because before this period, we would have had like the Romantic period, which was a lot more experimental, but it still had like the classical kind of feel to it. So, you know, even though it had some more experimental things, played around with dissonance a lot more. When we get to this new age, our, you know, composers are playing with so many more different things. Think like Stravinsky, think of like Tchaikovsky, you know, even though we have the pretty parts, you know, we have like some of the more harsh parts and that kind of thing. So it's really, really, really interesting to like kind of get that feeling of what was before until, you know, now. So when you get to this like 20th century thing, what a lot of those artists were doing was playing around and figuring out what they considered music. So there are artists, you know, like John Cage, who created this song where they wanted you to sit with silence. Within that, when you listen and you sit with silence, there's things going on all around you. So is that noise? Or could you kind of form that into music? And I think that's something that I don't think necessarily Cortis is doing on purpose, but it just makes me think of that kind of like new age coming into a different feel. And I think that they have a lot of interesting things in their kind of producing field that they're doing that makes it sound kind of you question, is this a song? Is this something that, you know, because it repeats a lot, is this something that's really music or isn't it? And so I think that's something that's interesting, and I'd love to talk with them about, because I feel like whenever I listen to one of their pieces, it always challenges me in some way. And that's why that silence at the end, it kind of made me think of all of this. So I really loved the organ in here. I think that was something that I really wasn't expecting. And then I loved how we have like a voice and a filter throughout a lot of this. And so when you go into kind of lose the filter and go into that first chorus of, you know, On My Blue Lips, very, very interesting. And I loved My Blue Lips, the way that was repeated several times, especially because then the runs and things that they did within that were different both times. And so it just made you really like focus in and kind of listen to everything that was around it rather than only focusing on the lyrics, right? And so I really enjoyed that. And then I also loved in verse 2, it was a little more talkative versus verse 1, because in verse 1 we had that filter on. But and then the chorus we had again that blue lips, but then we have the filter voice coming back, kind of going not in a call and response, but almost like a play off of it. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And then when you look at the vocal, like some of the lyrics, and I only wrote a couple of down. I need something else and a new why. Inner child tried to sneak out. So those were interesting to me, you know, because of what was happening in the song, you know, talking about like, you know, My Blue Lips, like we've been here all this time, like all this long, and we're getting kind of tired, but we want like to change something, and we need a new reason for doing things. And I feel like a lot of people feel like that. And so this is really one of those songs where it just makes you think the entire time. And I think that's something that Cortis tries to do, is they try to make you think about their music, and they also like have different various parts of that, right? So I think like for instance, this is a very thoughtful, like in-depth song. At least it was for me. Like that's what the vibe I got from it. But then you have some other songs that they've done. I would say like, not that you wouldn't think a lot about them, because you could, like for Go, but it's more like a vibey song, right? You want to dance to it. You like get into the choreography and things like that. And then they have something like Red Red, which has a completely different feel to it, right? And also is a little thought-provoking. And I think that's the beauty of what's going on with Cortis. So tell me what your guys' thoughts are on this. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite part of this song or MV? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.